right, hey yo, what's going on, all my gamers, all my reaction gamers? Sorry, chat, I had to pull over to the side real fast so I can get me up. Yeah, anyways, chat. EA just sold out, chat. I do want to talk about this because this is an interesting discussion. Normally when a lot of these AAA titles or AAA companies sell out or things start getting bought up, it's usually bought up by China, but EA was actually bought by a Saudi Arabian company, so let's talk about it.
EA is selling out. Honestly, one of the most predictable things for these guys to do, and this is going to be one of the...
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know EA. I'm surprised EA still had its doors open.
The biggest stories I've covered. This is going to be
actually no. Because I shouldn't be surprised because normies really do enjoy sports games, right? They kind of slop up the sports games. That's why those games always tend to be selling every year, right? They'll make it a new one every year. No one really cares. It's kind of like Call of Duty, right? The normie genre games that you would say, you know, just someone who's coming off of work and wants to play a game. Typically, they'll play Call of Duty or, you know, a sports game. There's nothing wrong with that. They're just typically not my bag. Although, as a kid, I did grow up on a FIFA game. I never played it correctly. I just, you know, tackled everyone. It was funny to me. I got everyone kicked out of the game. Anyways.
Largest gaming acquisition in the history of the industry. And there's going to be some impacts that are felt industry-wide. All of it I plan on covering today. This is going to be a huge sign of what's to come for AAA because while these guys have done their best to hide the scars, they have been bleeding a lot. And while we've seen profits soar and share prices go right with them, well...
Chad, did you see that? Oh, what a big boy. Did you see that cat? Sorry, I love cats. My cat's like,
these guys all know that they're living on borrowed time because you can only squeeze your talent, your IP, your franchises, your studios,
I'm locking in.
your players, and their wallets and throw them away at a moment's notice for only so long before it catches up with you.
Right.
So EA has gone private under the ownership of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, a group of others, and this has people asking a lot of questions, mostly pertaining to what's going to happen to EA.
Right.
Are we going to see them have layoffs? Are we going to see them sell off their IP? Are they going to gut their studios? What's going to happen? Are we going to see less or more microtransactions? Are we going to see them change the messaging in their games?
This is kind of why I was more worried about Saudi Arabia picking it up instead of China, because with China, you kind of know, and you have an industry, or kind of like an industry kind of genre, where you know what you're going to get when a Chinese company buys this game, right? If you guys want to know what that looks like, you can kind of see the games that are dominating gacha right now, right? The big four games, which is what we call them, which is Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zelda Zone Zero, and Wuthering Waves. These four are Chinese owned. 3 of them are by HoYoverse, and 1 of them is by Kuro Games, who have been fighting since Honkai Impact 3rd and Punishing Gray Raven have been out. You know, they've Kuro has kind of been on the tails of Hoyo, kind of just picking up what they were doing and trying to fix it in their own way. But with Saudi Arabia, I don't really know what we're expecting, right? My only instance of knowing how Saudi Arabia taking over something looks like would probably be the WWE. And all I really know is when the divas come out, they no longer wear their traditional outfits, right? The ones that they normally would use in the ring. They're all covered from head to toe because of, you know, the traditions over there in Saudi Arabia, which that's kind of something that I was more worried about, right? I don't really want to see these games go more of a conservative route, right? That's why I kind of would have preferred if it got sold to China, because then, I'm just saying, chat, we're eating good over here at Gotchas.
Yes, to all of it. Kind of. There's a lot of polarized opinions around this entire topic, mostly pertaining to the politics around this kind of thing. And not a lot of people are putting their bias aside and asking the questions about what's actually going to happen to the games and, more importantly, to the players. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about the one thing that matters most, how this impacts you.
Okay.
Today's video is sponsored by Goddess of Victory Nickname.
Yeah!
On the surface,
Let's go, bro. Okay, to be fair, this is a Korean game. So when I talked about the fan service and all that, this doesn't count, although this is very welcome. Nikkei is actually a Korean game.
Just like a stylish anime shooter, but
No,
what really
Pauly.
surprised me, and what I keep hearing from a lot of other people that play it, is just how strong the narrative actually
This is
the
Resident Evil collab, by the way.
That really sticks with you in a story that's way better than what you would expect from any other free-to-play game. No wonder it's pulled in over 45 million players worldwide in just 2 years. And right now, Nikkei is a brand new crossover event with Resident Evil. You can recruit Ada Wong, Jill Valentine, and Claire Redfield. There's a new skin for D called Killer Wife Gotcha, and
oh my god, bro, she's so fine. Is this Killer? Oh, this is Killer. This is D Killer Wife. There's D and then D Killer Wife. There's a
original storyline that takes place in a mysterious mansion tied to the Torch of Salvation cult. It feels like classic Resident Evil, but through Nikkei's world and characters. The game is free to play on PC and mobile, and if you're new, this Resident Evil event is the perfect.
I'm so sorry that I keep pausing during this ad read because I'm a gacha player, so it's just like, or I'm a gacha content creator, and that's what I am. I always thought it was funny because everyone in Resident Evil is typically like a human, but it's like it's really funny that now that they deployed actual like war machines in there.
Time to jump
it's
in.
just
And
funny.
If you haven't played for a while, it's a
and
great
they're scared
reason to
too.
come
That is
back.
even
Download
funnier.
Nikkei today using the link in the description or in the pinned
Oh,
comment.
it's
Thank you to Goddess of Victory Nikkei for sponsoring today's
ACPU.
video. I think it's safe for me to say that EA is one of the most hated publishers in gaming, and it's for a good reason. They've become the poster child for everything that is wrong in AAA. Nickel and diming your players, gutting your franchises, chasing trends until the wheels fall off. From loot boxes to rush
NFL
launches
games.
to live service. EA hasn't just contributed to the decline of AAA. These guys have been leading it, but that's always been on the back of public investment. And if you guys have watched this channel for any length of time, you know that I think that the games industry is just unstable. It's just not built for public investment. Quarterly earnings demands are pushing these executives to chase these short-term outcomes instead of long-term quality. That's why microtransactions are everywhere, why we see so many unfinished games, why live service has taken such a
I have the same opinion. I have this opinion that I don't think there's anything wrong with microtransactions, especially if microtransactions keep the game free to play, right? Now, they have it to where you have a Genshin, no, not even Genshin. If you have a Uma Musume level of microtransactions where you need 210 pity just to get guarantee, in a game where you already paid $70 to $80 for, that's just wrong, bro. Like if they had, I think Call of Duty is free. No, it's not. It's definitely not. They make Call of Duty free, and then they just put out like a new skin every week or something like that, and it's just all microtransactions. I think that's totally fine because the game is free, right? Genshin is free. Wuwa is free. Uma Musume is free. But to get like more extra stuff, or if you want like meta build stuff, you kind of need to pay the microtransactions. And for the average player, for the guy just coming home on the train, he doesn't really need the microtransactions. He just plays it, and he lets the whales take care of that.
But all this damage has been clear, not just to the games, but also to the trust that the players once had in the people that were making them. Sure, these companies have been posting record-breaking earnings, but the players, if you talk to them, you're seeing the opposite. Beloved franchises are unrecognizable to them.
Damn,
the prices keep climbing.
What a shame.
Microtransactions are just carved out of what used to be whole games. These guys have made...
The only thing that's good that came out of Dragon Age of Veilguard is the content farm, and then Nene's video.
Fortunes by strip mining their IP and their relationship with their players, all to keep Wall Street happy. But games are a gamble. Some of them hit, some of them flop, some of them take years to build, trends shift, audiences move on. In chasing that constant growth, publishers have chipped away at their own foundations that were built on joy and trust. Ubisoft is a clear warning of this. Forced into a 10-cent bailout, their stock is down 87% over 5 years thanks to...
I think Ubisoft... I would probably put Ubisoft and EA as the perfect representation of a corporate. I obviously like all these companies are corporate game companies, but they're more of a corporate feel, right? Everything's so cookie cutter. The way that they're going about everything, and it's just like it has no soul, right? Like seeing something made by one person, like Schedule One. And then seeing something, or even Power World, and then seeing seeing EA and how many, you put it against every single NFL game or 2K game that they have, and they're just gonna lose every time, because it's just soulless. All it is just the same game repeat every single year, and people still buy it.
Over monetization and a collapse in quality. That is the fate that all of these developers and all of these studios and all these publishers are desperate to avoid, which is why going private isn't an option for these guys anymore. I think it's inevitable. Which brings us to the buyout of Electronic Arts, as reported by IGN in an article titled EA Goes Private in $55 billion deal with PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners, Andrew Wilson to remain as CEO. Wesley Yinpool writes, EA has confirmed it has agreed to be acquired by an investment group composed of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners in a transaction valued at approximately $55 billion. It is the largest all-cash sponsor take-private investment in history. EA will continue to be led by Wilson and remain headquartered in Redwood City, California. The transaction is expected to close Q1 fiscal year 2027, subject to regulatory and stockholder approvals. The transaction will be funded by a combination of cash from each of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners, the later of which is an American investment firm based in Miami, Florida, and formed in 2021 by Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law. Why is that relevant?
What?
Combined, the deal is an equity investment of...
Wait, can I see that one more time? What was that? Formed in 20... Okay.
Donald Trump's son-in-law. Why is that relevant? Combined, the deal is an equity investment of approximately $36 billion and $20 billion in debt financing, fully and solely committed by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank North America, $18 billion of which is expected to be funded at close. Each of PIF, Silver Lake, and...
Bro, imagine the amount of money you have to be like, yeah, by the way, you're going to inherit like $20 billion of their debt, by the way. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. I don't really care. That's like extra taxes to them. They're like, I don't really care. I just take it. Just give me the whole thing. Just make sure that the coffee maker stays in the building. I don't really care.
Affinity Partners plan to fund the equity component of the financing entirely from capital under their respective control, the company said. That is a lot of money. This is a massive move. One of the most recognized American publishers in the industry, a pillar of AAA, is taking itself off of the public market and putting itself into the hands of private investors. And at the table, we have Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners. A lot of people have a lot of money riding on this. The PIF's involvement has really been dominating the headlines, which is pretty obvious. These guys have been aggressively buying into sports, entertainment, technology, and video games, but they aren't doing this alone. This is a three-way bet.
I think... was it PIF that ended up buying Evo? I don't really know because I know Evo was acquired. PIF did not directly buy Evo, but indirectly acquired controlling stake through investments. Okay, so it was they kind of have control of Evo because if you guys don't know Evo, which is a fighting game. Like, it's the fighting game tournament. It's like the Super Bowl of fighting games, right? So they actually ended up buying it, or Saudi Arabia ended up acquiring Evo. So that sparked a lot of jokes, that's for sure, and it sparked a lot of discussion because it's like they now have Overwatch League. They have, what is it called? They have Overwatch, I think, Evo. And now they have EA. So, well, for Corner RTS is fully acquired by Qiddiya. Yeah, something like that. So it's kind of wild.
Billions on the line, and everyone involved has the same bottom line, profit. And I have been so frustrated with the media's framing and their reaction to all of this because the focus has entirely been on who is buying it, not why they're buying it. Kotaku even ran a piece titled, "The Internet Reacts to EA's $55 billion sale of some of the worst people around." Strip away the politics, the religion, and the culture war framing. The motive here is money. That's the directive here. Money, not ideology. It's just a bonus that it could help improve Saudi's public image. Hell, Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, has openly admitted that if sports watching raises their GDP by 1%, he'll keep doing it. These guys do not care what you think. I do have to say, I do think it's funny that the Saudi prince changed his Steam profile to say that I bought EA, thanks Reddit, but this is all a part of PIF's Vision 2030 plan, a direct response to oil revenue losing dominance by 2030. It's a diversification strategy meant to buy influence and stability in one of the most volatile regions in the world. And if you look at their investments into SNK, the soccer club that they bought, Live Golf, it's obvious that their goal isn't to rewrite...
SNK? Like, oh... I think my boy, my mod told me, I think he told me about that. Saudi Arabia effectively owns SNK with Saudi Crown Princess Foundation, the Misk Foundation holding 96%. Ooh, I don't know how much I feel about that because again, I don't want. Is this why Cristiano Ronaldo's in the game? I don't know. I would have to see the timeline on this. But bro, SNK has some fan service with like and I really don't want to see her covered up, bro. This is something that I don't want.
Culture, it's to buy
again. I don't really
and
know. This is just something that I'm going off of from an outside perspective, looking in from the few events held in Saudi Arabia that I've been able to see.
Up their horrific public image while also securing long-term profit. But here's the key that I think a lot of people are losing sight of. Whatever PIF's motives are for EA and for the players, this deal still just comes down to money. EA is still one of the most hated publishers in gaming, and now their future hangs on a knife's edge. Going private could finally force them to get leaner, more focused, and rebuild some of the trust that they've burned for decades, or it could drag them further down into the gutter, making them...
Chat, do you guys remember? It's not gambling, it's a surprise mechanic. Yeah, that one still rings true in people's heads. So I guess people they're trying to save that kind of image. I don't know how well they'll do because that one's a doozy. But yeah,
them have more aggressive microtransactions, higher prices, tighter controls, less freedom. That's the fork in the road. It's not politics, not ideology. It's whether EA keeps bleeding players or they finally learn the smarter long-term play is just to deliver games that people actually want to buy.
True.
I see this entire deal as boom or bust for EA, and there is no middle ground. We either see more of the EA that we already know, or we're going to see an EA that gets better with time, because this isn't just an acquisition, it's a leveraged buyout. At minimum, $20 billion in debt is going to be strapped to the company for a publisher.
I think keeping them out of a corporate, keeping them not as a corporate entity and like something in a private, like owning them as a private entity, it might be better. I want to say it sounds like it would be better, right? Maybe the deadlines won't be as bad, and maybe they have more time to actually cook on some games, which is honestly what they need. They can't just keep hammering out the same game every year and then just expect that to work. I mean, it's kind of working, but, you know, they're in debt, so probably not.
Sure, that is historically operated with minimal debt. That is a massive shift for the company. And this is actually what is driving me insane right now, because everybody keeps talking like EA somehow has to make all that money back overnight. That is not how this works. That's not how any of these deals work. You do not erase $20 billion in 5 years. At a conservative pace, this debt could take 3 decades to pay off.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, EA nets just under and sometimes over $1 billion every year. That's net profit. That's after developer salaries, after expenses, after everything. So yes, investors are going to want to see more of that, but the company is already profitable. What's working right now is likely not to change, which means the only real path forward for these guys out of that debt is consistency, long-term growth, expanding beyond their current money makers, not scrambling for some desperate cash grab. Now, I will say, if you're expecting layoffs, you are absolutely right, my friend, because, I mean, while EA is netting $1 billion in profit, that's off of the back of $7 billion in revenue, and that is a massive discrepancy. And as painful as it is for some of the people that are inside of the company, this is also going to be the best move from a business perspective. The games industry is bloated as is. Fidelity has overtaken gameplay. Headcounts have exploded while design is stagnated to be able to support that. EA employs nearly 50...
I think the worst thing... God, how do I say this? I think the worst thing is how easy it's been. The best and the worst thing is how easy it is now to make a video game. Because you have people who are coming in and trying to make video games. You know, obviously you guys know who it is. It's the activists who would come in to try to push a message and do all this stuff while also not knowing how to make a video game. And it's like, well, now a bunch of IPs are ruined. A bunch of games coming up always suck, and none of these games are optimized and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's good that it's really easy to make a game because you have games that'll come out by indie developers and they just steal the show, right? You have Silk Song that is still an insane game. You have Schedule 1. You have Power World. You have all these other games that, because creating games is more accessible, you don't really have to rely on AAA anymore, right? You don't have to go and the shelf is full of EA. The shelf is now full of whatever you want to look for. Or in my case, China games.
15,000 people across all of the studios, and the sheer scale of that has been holding these guys back both in quality and financially. And I want to remind you that some of the best games of the past few years, the ones that have actually landed with players, came from smaller, leaner teams working with more manageable budgets. Fewer cooks in the kitchen make for a far clearer creative vision.
Yeah.
We talked about this just recently in a past video, which makes it all the more relevant now, but the truth is this hardware and fidelity arms race that we're in right now was never about the players. It's always been about the stock market. These visual benchmarks are the only thing that these investors understand. So budgets grew, headcounts exploded, spectacle took priority over design. That's how we got here. But EA doesn't have to impress investors anymore. They just need to make money sustainably. And the best way to do that isn't by chasing graphics or employing 15,000 people. It's about making better, higher quality games. Not the prettiest, not the most cinematic, but games where the people that are...
I just want a game to run on day one. And apparently I'm in the wrong. Somehow me wanting a game to run straight out of the box, I'm the unreasonable one, or at least that's what I've been getting from these developers, is I'm unreasonable for wanting that. I don't know.
Actually making them are the ones taking the wheel. And speaking of more control, going private means that EA is also not going to be under the same standards, same regulations, or having to meet some of the same criteria like ESG criteria and stuff like that. And before you guys grab your keyboard, just listen to me for a second. Right now, BlackRock and Vanguard hold about 22% of EA shares. And both of those guys enforce ESG standards. That is why we've gotten this corporate branded HR approved version of inclusivity. It's not born from creativity. It's coming from shareholder mandates, and players can feel the difference. We know.
Like, we know what inclusivity really looks like, and then you have this dog shit, bro. This is so awful. Just look at these. Look at this group of actual rejects. Like, these characters look stupid, bro. These are some awful designs. And it's like, it's not even that they're a bunch of losers in an endearing way, right? Like, that's always kind of fun, right? The loser group that's gonna save the world. That's always fun. These people just look lame. Like, these character designs are just
when it's authentic, and we know when it's corporate. Private ownership removes that pressure, which means that characters can exist because the story calls for them, not because an investor does. That is the difference between a Dragon Age the Veilguard and a Baldur's Gate 3. I really hope people understand this. Now, I will admit this one's going to be a bit of a Hail Mary, but I think the biggest potential upside here isn't even cultural. It's just foundational. EA will no longer be a public company, which means their focus should be shifting away from quarterly profits and towards the long-term health of their franchises, their IP, and their players. Private investors typically aren't looking for a quick revenue bump. They want steady, reliable income and bets that are going to pay off over decades. And with the PIF's capital behind them, well, the ceiling for those bets just got a hell of a lot higher. And we've already actually seen this in gaming already. Their 2022 investment into SNK fueled a 20% bump in revenue, and then on top of that, the studio
I did like this new City of Wolves, right? I had a good time with it. I played it with my mod, and he kicked the shit out of me. That's what kind of we were doing one day on stream, but if the new City of Wolves is under this umbrella, I will say it does feel good. Right? There's crossplay as well, which you'd be surprised that I said that. And you're like, but Rin, it's 2025. Every game should have crossplay. And I say, you're right, Bandai Namco, you specifically. Especially because this screwed over Sparking Zero to the point where the game died after a month and I lost $70. Every game should have crossplay. Why did your game not have crossplay? Dragon Ball FighterZ didn't even have netcode until like this year. And that game's been out for almost a decade. So, at the very least, City of Wolves does feel better than most of the fighting games that has been coming out recently. But they have some competition. A lot of good fighting games are coming out, right? The new Marvel game, 2XKO, Guilty Gear is still pretty decent and is still going on. They're going to have a new season. Street Fighter still king. Tekken, they had it kind of went downhill, but still.
Doing well right now, and they've also come forward and said that money came with no strings attached. They've had no impact at all on their creativity, and that precedent matters. It means that there's a real chance of EA actually improving. It also means
Mize Honkers were still out, so it's still pretty good.
We could see them dusting off some of their dormant IP, Command and Conquer, Army of Two, Mercenaries, Titanfall, and maybe taking some bigger swings on single-player projects and rebuilding some of the trust that they have in their multiplayer ones. But, of course, that is the best-case scenario, and in this industry, as we all know, best case rarely pans out. I've seen people so up in arms over this. Oh, this is going to ruin EA. How do you...
I just realized he has a Nagatoro sticker right here. It's really funny.
Ruin what's already the worst. I haven't bought any of their games in years.
I haven't. I can't remember the last time I was excited about an EA game. I really don't. Except for, I don't know. I really don't know.
Will buy Battlefield 6, but Dragon Age the Veilguard was a code that was given to me. God, these guys really need to stop doing that. But... I've seen people talk about how this is going to change all of their games. They're going to change The Sims because...
I guess Dragon Age The Veilguard I was a little bit excited about because I wanted to watch it crash and burn. It's kind of like watching a car crash in real time, chat, except it's going at the slowest pace possible because we had the information about this game a long time ago. So it's like, man, there it goes. And then, boom, it came out. And then it's like, damn. Well, it came out and it happened exactly like we expected it to, so that kind of sucks.
No, The Sims makes them $400 million a year. These guys are going to cut what's not working, and then they're going to pump what is.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're going to do. It's as simple as that. And the whole debt conversation is just hilarious to me. It's like people have no idea how corporate debt works. It largely doesn't even exist, especially in the U.S. economy. These guys have so many tax breaks and deductibles. They could shield it. They make $7 billion in revenue, $1 billion after all of their expenses. All they got to do is chop some necessary costs that they have in the background, probably do a little bit of layoffs. They can pay it, refinance it, flip it, cut into pieces, hide it wherever they want, turn it into a pizza, throw it in the oven. Who knows, man? It is not a life or death scenario for these guys. It's not going to reshape their games. I'm going to tell you that.
No, definitely not.
I think it's just a low-hanging fruit to be the doomer about this entire situation, mostly because I'm not really interested in the political side of all of this.
Right.
But I want these companies to go private. I've been talking about this for...
I'm definitely not a doom. I wouldn't say I'm a doomer in this situation. I would say I'm more of a doubter, right? Although knowing that they made City of Wolves does gives me a little bit more hope. I am just worried about how much... And this is obviously going to, because they're going to own it, right? This is kind of something in the back of my mind. I wonder how much culture will affect the games that they put out. If it's nothing, cool. I trust them to do better than whatever the hell EA is doing. I literally trust anybody to do better than EA is doing. So if they don't if they don't make it overly game that where there's no it doesn't look like this, looks like that, looks like everybody's covered up, I think it's fine.
Entire time I've had this entire YouTube channel, I want these guys to be smaller. I want them to have more focused teams. I want them to bring back some of their old IP and see if some of that works. And you're going to be able to see a lot more of those bets, and they're going to be able to take a lot more of those bets now that they're private.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, it destroys the company. Oh, isn't that terrible? One of the most notorious publishers in the entire industry is now dead.
Oh, whoops.
It's a win-win scenario. I do not understand why people are so upset.
We can't lose.
I really don't. I do think that there will be some immediate changes.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Yes, there definitely will be, especially when it comes to layoffs. That's going to happen pretty much immediately. I can tell you that right now. But it's also going to cause a shockwave throughout the entire industry, because if this does work for EA and for us, if there's one thing that we've learned over the years, especially in AAA, these guys really like to play follow the leader. Now, I want to talk about some of the reactions to this news, because I've seen a lot of doom posting from games media and on social media. And while some of it is right on the money, what many of these people don't realize is that many of these changes aren't just inevitable. They might actually be for the better. And one of the first ones that's being screamed about the most is mass layoffs. And yes, they are coming. We've seen this every single time. Xbox taking over.
Yeah, I think the mass layoffs aren't a matter of if, they're a matter of when. And that win will be happening soon. That win, they are not going to hold off that win. That win is going to happen like as soon as they can. Like a whole bunch of people about to get laid off, brother.
Vision, Blizzard, Sony with Bungie, Tencent with Ubisoft. All these guys cut staff because these companies have grown far too big.
Right.
I think with EA, most of the noise right now is just virtue signaling about AI taking over people's jobs. And to be fair, they're right to an extent. In my eyes, AI is not a bulletproof technology yet. It's still rough. It still needs time. And these companies are overcommitting way too soon. But regardless of AI, EA still needs to cut back. According to their own site, they have 20 studios with over 6,000 creators globally, but
I think Hoyo starts doing more with AI, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. There was like a job posting and they needed to know AI, but I wouldn't really know unless like I actually heard about it.
15,000 employees total. At that scale, redundancies are already piling up. Acquisitions are the moment where these companies can reassess and figure out what they actually need. And that can go either way. They can trim the fat, refocus development, and we can get better games, or they could cut the wrong people and their quality could nosedive. We have to wait and see which way that goes.
Right.
I'm so sick of games media spinning these layoffs like they're an apocalyptic event. This industry is transient. People are acting like these layoffs make it where talent is just going to disappear into the ether, when in reality, most of these developers are just going to resurface somewhere else, oftentimes somewhere better than where they actually were. Ubisoft's endless layoffs and lack of risk-taking directly gave us Sandfall Entertainment and Expedition 33. EA shedding talent gave us Embark Studios, the team behind the finals and the soon-to-be-released Arc Raiders. This industry is full of those...
I've seen the funniest review on Expedition 33, and someone posted that this game is amazing and this game is blah blah blah. The only reason why this is a negative review is that it showed the French in a charismatic way, and I can't have that. So they put it as a negative review. It's really funny.
Stories. What do you guys want? Do you want talented people to be stuck at EA, or do you want them to be building the next great thing somewhere else? These big publishers have become a beacon of security in an industry that can buckle under a single release, and sometimes these layoffs are just the push that people need. We crave stability so badly that we will cling to it even when it's not in our best interest. And I get it. It sucks for the people that are in the moment that are losing their jobs, but we can't criticize these companies for refusing to take risks with their games when the industry, the employees, and even games media are clinging to security so tightly. Yeah. This is an artistic industry. It's messy, and that's part of what actually makes it great. Another complaint I've seen, mostly coming from games journalists, is that EA's messaging will change or their IP will get sold off, with BioWare at the center of that entire discussion. And sure, some of that is possible, but a lot of it's just a flat-out over-exaggeration and a complete misunderstanding of how private equity actually works. EA is not a struggling bargain bin business where you need to strip them for parts. They are profitable. They've historically carried no debt. You can cut and flip assets if you're trying to salvage something that's already broken, not when you just drop $55 billion on a publisher that already prints money.
I just gotta know what they will do with something like Dragon Age the Veilguard, right? I imagine I imagine the course of action would be to take what made Dragon Age the Veilguard really, really good, because it was a very, very well... I mean, it was kind of a niche game. No, I wouldn't even say it was a niche game. It almost won Game of the... I think it won Game of the Year. This was a amazing game franchise, right? And they could just rewrite it and kind of get them back on track to where Dragon Age the Veilguard was just a hiccup in the road, right? Because you can do that. Same thing with like Assassin's Creed Shadows. You could just be like, well, we had a game like this. It didn't work out. You know, Ubisoft messed it up. Obviously, I don't really know how Ubisoft is going to be able to fix it, but someone like EA is probably, now that they're private, it's like, well, let's go back to what worked. Let's try to figure out where this happened and where things can improve. The only thing is, I don't know how they're going to have the sports games get improved. I'm curious on that, because they release them every year, and it's like, I don't know, man, but they're still very profitable, so it's maybe they won't reshape those.
I've seen people claiming that Mass Effect 5 or Iron Man are destined to be canceled. Based on what exactly? Unless those projects are catastrophically behind their schedule or stuck in development hell, they're going to move forward. If they're cut, they're being cut.
Oh, and I have a manager at work who's super excited about this, because he's hoping that because Saudi Arabia loves boxing, that they make a new Undisputed game. Dude, he's so hyped for that. I was like, dude, how did you feel about Saudi Arabia? Dude, his face lit up. He's like, I'm hoping that this means there's a new Undisputed game.
because they were doomed from the start. And with BioWare specifically, I mean, let's be honest here, they haven't shipped a worthwhile game since Inquisition. That's over a decade now. At some point, you got to stop calling it potential and start calling it rot. Mass Effect 5 is likely their last shot regardless of who owns EA. Keep in mind, games journalists only months ago were saying just as much, but oh wait, now it's the Saudis that are the problem. No company is going to let a studio sit on its hands for 2 decades without delivering something commercially viable. Now, part of that blame is on EA. They shoved live service down BioWare's throat, which is how we got Anthem and why Veilguard felt so mechanically thin as an RPG, because it started out as a live service project. But at some point, you have to say that enough is enough. And then
I don't even know what the idea was behind that being a live service product, bro. What did you want to do? This isn't Genshin Impact. You can make. I mean, I guess he could have made it like ESO, right? Because Elden Ring or the Elder Scrolls franchise is a solo player RPG, but then they made ESO, which is the MMORPG. So I was wondering maybe they can try to do that, but even still, I don't know, bro. I really don't.
Go on to the next wave of criticism sparked by Veilguard's former writer and echoed by games journalists, claiming that it's going to be guns and football in and gay stuff out, and that BioWare is going to be shut down entirely.
I mean, the gay stuff probably, yeah, that part's probably true. But it's probably because it wasn't profitable. Even like the thing about the gay stuff, even if they kept it in, the thing is they would keep it. You would be keeping it in just for the sake of keeping it in, right? Well, in terms of like something like Veilguard, with that messaging, it's just like it didn't turn a profit. Why would they keep it in? They have a formula that has shown to prove a profit. It just doesn't make any sense. Like you're losing money to shove a message. Why would you do that? The entirety of the games industry? I'm asking you specifically.
Hang on, Blue Sky buyers. So your games, guns and football, yes. EA, mostly guns and football, yep. Buyers, no gay stuff, no politics we're not going to like. EA, haha, definitely not. Could you give me just a sec? I need to shut down a studio real quick.
Someone needs to shut down Blue Sky and then watch these people flounder on Twitter. That's what I want to see. That would make me happy. I would laugh at that.
I'm sorry, but what are you talking about? Your writing in your game is why that studio is on life support right now. That's also why you're no longer working at that studio. Now you're acting like you got a scapegoat if the studio tanks. Acting like EA or the new ownership are going to be the problem when you're the one that made the game that failed to interest anyone to buy it at all. Veilguard missed sales targets by half. 1.5 million copies for one of the most recognized...
Bro... Love in Deep Space does it in like a month. Are you serious? This is how much you guys made? Okay.
RPG franchises in the world from one of the most recognized RPG studios in the world. That is not politics. That's not on investors. That's on the game. But you don't want to take responsibility for that.
It's kind of crazy to think about that Finon from Honkai Star Rail. Finon alone has probably outsold most of the AAA games that have come out because he made about $100 million.
This is not a debate whether gender politics belong in these games or inclusivity should exist. It's whether those choices translated into sales. Players vote with their wallets, and the truth is there's plenty of other games that are out there that handled those same themes far better and sold way better because of it.
I just don't understand why those themes have to be... Like, if you want to have those themes... I've never understood why you want to have those themes in corporate slop games. Why in this day and age where literally one person can make an entire game that'll shake up the industry, why would you go and try to change up corporate games? You would think you'd go and make your own game because then you don't have to answer to anybody. You won't get backlash. No one's going to, nobody's going to look down on you. You'll have an audience, right? Because you're not hijacking someone else's game, you're making your own game. I mean, Dustborn, sure, that came out terribly, but have them make a few of these games, get the hang of creating a game, and then maybe the next one won't be as bad. You know what I'm saying? But they just want to take over corporate games, and then the corporate games suffer for it, and then the industry suffers for it. It never made any sense to me.
Now, I will say on the guns and football line, they're not wrong, but not for the reasons that they think. These investors are not sitting around scheming about identity politics.
Like soccer.
These guys are looking at sales charts. Guns and football sells. That's what people are playing.
Not football. Football. They like They like some football over there.
That's what people are spending their money on. That's where the changes are going to be. This change isn't going to be.
Saudi Arabia really loves fighting games. I think Angry Bird is Angry Bird from Saudi Arabia? I don't remember. I know if it is, they already had. Oh God, is he Angry Bird? FGC. I think he is. He is. Oh no, he's Jordanian. Oh, he's from Jordan. Okay, so no, he's not. He's from Jordan. So it's not. It's less of Saudi Arabia, but like the Middle East. Middle Eastern at the Middle East, I've heard they're like jerry rigging controllers to make a hitbox, which is really really cool, honestly. But like they love fighting games over there in the Middle East.
Be about politics, it's going to be about profit. And for the first time in decades, EA is not going to have anybody else breathing down their necks telling them what trends to chase next and trends that they don't even understand or even care about. These guys are just going to be able to be free to double down on what players are actually asking for. And I think that we can already see that shift happen with Battlefield 6. Looking at the investment that went into that game, multiple studios aligned, resources that are pulled together, a clearer vision of what that franchise needs to be able to get back on track.
They still need to invest in an anti-cheat. Yes, I'm still upset about that. And no, I will not let that go. There is no such thing as an aim community, and that stupid cat fucking thing needs to be banned.
It feels like a holistic effort built for the players. To me,
it's a cat girl, I'm pretty sure. She said cat girl. So I'm just going to call her a cat girl. That fucking cat girl needs to be banned.
Very least, I think that's a preview of what this deal could mean if it actually works. Bigger bets, sharper focus, and a game that's actually designed to meet their audience where they actually are. And now this is actually where I think this deal gets even bigger than EA, because if it actually works, you can expect nearly every other major publisher to start looking for the exact same exit ramp. Ubisoft, Square Enix, all of them are struggling with the same problems right now. Bloated teams, these massive budgets, chasing short-term investor hype instead of long-term stability. If EA can prove that going private is the safer, more profitable route, then privatization is just going to become the new playbook. But I also think the reverse is just as true, because if EA stumbles under this deal, if the debt buries them, if their quality tanks, if their players turn away, then it's not just going to be EA that's paying the price. It's going to be billions of dollars of outside capital that could evaporate from gaming overnight. Investors do not like risk, and if one of the biggest publishers in the world can't make this work, then the message to the rest of the market is going to be clear: stay out. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when I was first talking about my optimism with Battlefield 6, I was blown away by the fact that they had pulled together all these resources, had all of their studios working together. They created Battlefield Labs and all that stuff. And I originally had thought that it was because they saw a moment of weakness with Call of Duty, but now I'm realizing it was probably all predicated on this deal. Keep in mind that these deals are always going on in the background. They're talking about this stuff for years. Many years before some of these deals actually.
Yeah, a lot of these deals, you won't. When you hear about deals like this, you won't hear about it until they're ready to finish it, right? They're not going to tell you about it when it's like, yeah, we emailed EA and we're, hoping to get into talks with them today. We're going to have like a Zoom call, maybe potentially talking about how their finances are looking and possibly looking to. No, when they're saying like, we're going to buy EA, it's just a matter of signing the paperwork at that point.
To get inked. And that's likely what this is, which means that they wanted to see what EA was capable of if they pulled all their resources together.
Which is really funny, because then that means that there was people in the office who who definitely knew.
They pulled their teams together. They wanted to see if they could actually drive demand, if they could tap into some of the original EA magic that these companies are.
Trying to get my cat's attention. Mommy! And she didn't care.
Or these investors, are probably looking into right now. And the hype, the excitement, likely also the pre-orders are probably what ended up selling this deal to these investors. And that's probably what made this entire thing happen. I always make sure to try to mention this, but for some of the developers that might be watching this video, for the people that might be working at EA, I understand that some of you guys are absolutely terrified right now.
Right.
I get it. I really do, because I've been in the exact same position. And I always wanted to do YouTube full time. I thought it'd be a really cool job to do. And at one point in time, I totally thought that I could do it. My channel was doing really well, but I would have never taken the risk. I would have kept working for my company. My channel probably would have never grown to the point that it's actually grown, thanks to all of the kindness and generosity to the people that have watched my videos and shown me. But if it wasn't for me getting laid off, I would have never taken the jump.
Oh, he got laid off.
Sometimes, especially if your company values AI more than you're probably going to be better off somewhere else and better
definitely, you know, sometimes I kind of wish that my job would lay me off so I can have more time for content, but it's like, I have seniority now, brother. I ain't going nowhere.
Off for it. At least that's my opinion. I'm really interested to see where this goes. I know a lot of people are being doomer about it, and I don't really know exactly where this is going to go. I know I looked at a lot of the more optimistic side of this. The flip side is just a lot less interesting because it's just they go out of business, and who cares, to be honest with you?
I don't honestly care. Yeah.
I always enjoy talking about these games.
Oh no, EA went out of business. There's not going to be another football game. Woo.
Games and talking about trends and reviewing games, but this is like a feast for me, and I need you guys to understand it. I enjoy talking about the business side of this industry, and I think this is just cool as hell, and I'm totally nerding out about it. So I'm enjoying the ride, and I can't wait to see how this all turns out. I'm really curious to see how a massive publisher does private. It's going to be interesting. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Come follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter where I talk a bunch of smack and things like that. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys actually think is going to happen with this. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching the video. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Family. That was a good video. Like I said, it was a lot more of NPC made a nonsense video. It was a lot more of what's gonna happen to the games and the game quality and how they're gonna make their games, right? Because that's the only thing that really mattered to me is I want games to stay the course, right? I want them to not really start changing in ways where things will kind of be a middle ground between what is happening now and what it was and what I'm seeing from other companies. But the most important thing is either way, hopefully better days for EAs. And if not, they're going to go under, and who really cares at that point, right? Anyways, chat, this was a pretty fun discussion. Let me know how you guys feel. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you gamers in the next one. Bye.